I'm Jamie O'Kane, CPA, Small Business Advanced Tax Planning and Compliance Extraordinaire, and this is the Abundant Beans Podcast, the podcast that takes my love for learning what makes people tick while digging into the good, bad, and ugly of small business ownership. We strive to give you the insight that only those in the trenches of being and working with entrepreneurs can provide. I'd like to welcome to the podcast today Michelle Tollar. With 15 years of experience in the financial and insurance industries and 10 years of experience in interior design and construction, she has an eye for designing the kind of risk management insurance lifestyle to best serve her clients. She works with Confluence Insurance to create the best tools and services to design a risk management insurance lifestyle capable of accommodating a range of experiences, circumstances, and need. For Michelle, it's about custom design, bespoke client experiences, and a tailored approach to risk management and insurance. She makes insurance exciting and engaging. We'll see how that goes. I got questions.
I have answers.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I think that was everything. So, first question is always the same. What was your first job?
First job, I taught swimming lessons to little kids and got my WSI certification. But the one that I probably enjoyed the most, which was kind of in tandem with that, is my mom's best friend owned a flower shop. And so I got to work in the flower shop. And I did that basically from elementary school, middle school, and then in high school. It was super fun because I got to make all my own corsages and boutonnieres for my dates and kind of learned the background on floral and putting all that together. So the flower shop was really, got to use my creativity, and we did floral deliveries around town and got to meet people. And that was probably one of the best jobs I've had, working with the flowers and meeting the people. So.
Is that why you decided to do interior design?
No, decided to do interior design. I guess back in elementary school and middle school, you have career days. And of course, I wanted to be an attorney, and I didn't quite know how to dress to be an attorney. And then I wanted to be a psychologist, and I didn't really know how I would dress to look like a psychologist.
I love it.
So I chose an airline stewardess. My mom had an old red dress, and I tied a little thing around my neck, and we had some Delta wings, so I put that on and was an airline stewardess for career day. And then somehow I got involved with an interior designer that was a mom's friend, and just really thought what she was doing was cool. So in 7th grade, I made the decision that I was going to go to CSU in Fort Collins because they were one of the only FIDER accredited interior design schools. And one of my best friends lived up there. She was 4.5 years older and was majoring in engineering at CSU. So I'd take weekends and go up and spend time with her, and then during the summers. And that kind of solidified that I was going to go into interior design and
That's awesome.
Do that up at CSU.
You and I were at CSU at the same time.
I know. We probably crossed on the campus.
We at least crossed paths a couple
times. Going from the interior design up to the construction management, and I always had all my drafting tools in a backpack, so I was usually schlepping through because I had a class down south, which I can't remember what the building name was, and then I'd have to go all the way up to the construction management by the music, and they were usually there was a 30-minute difference, and so I'm sure we passed with me.
Sure we did, because I took
Trekking.
classes all over that thing.
Yeah. It'd be neat to rewind.
Yeah, it would be really interesting. So how did you get started in financial advising and insurance from there?
Sure. That's a really good question. Obviously did school in interior design, and I have a background in construction management as well. Worked in the design and construction industry for 5 years. Was married, moved to Hawaii, worked for an architect over there, lived in Steamboat, worked for an architect there. And one day I just said, there's got to be more. I wasn't really doing the decorating part of design. I was more on the technical side of picking up red lines on drawings, programming, space planning, medical tenant finish, and wasn't really doing the pretty color finishes part. And in working with architects, because I wasn't an architect, I was proficient in AutoCAD and MicroStation, so I was picking up a lot of red lines on drawings, but that meant I was sitting at the computer for, 8, 10, 12 hours a day. I didn't have a standing computer. I didn't have my little swivel board, and I just got tired of sitting at the computer, and one day I said, there's got to be something more, and so I worked with a company in Steamboat that did import-export out of high-end import-export of novelty items out of England and Australia, and worked with them as an account executive and did all of their trade shows and kind of learned invoicing and importing, exporting product. And then one day the owner came to me and she's like, I think you said you were proficient in AutoCAD and MicroStation. We want to start a product line. Would you draw what I'm thinking, and we'll send it to China and get it made? So I did that with them for 2 years.
Oh, that's fun.
And one day, being the entrepreneur I am, I woke up and I was like, if these guys can do it, I can do it. So left them and started my own furniture and rug design company, and designed product on MicroStation or AutoCAD and would send it to China, and China would make it and send it back to me. However, sending samples back that aren't great samples is really expensive via UPS. So I got a really high UPS bill one day, and I was like, that's it, I'm going to China. So packed up my bags and went to China for 2.5 weeks and toured factories and met manufacturers and got everything made. I did that for four years.
Oh, wow.
And then I met up with a gentleman in Texas. His family had a furniture company, and we partnered for a while. And one day I literally woke up in a Vietnamese hotel. I'd been sick and traveling every month out of the year and kind of did that. Like, where am I? What am I doing? And decided,
how did I get here?
How did I get here? Why am I doing this? And had seen a lot of factories and just a lot of travel, and it was great. Some of the best experiences of my life, but missed being home, missed my family, friends, being in America, although Vietnam and China are so culturally rich but material poor, yet they're sending everything here to the U.S. So I decided I've got to make a change. I had a ton of inventory sitting in a warehouse out on I-70. Sold all that inventory to a pretty well-known company and took a year off and said, what am I going to do? What color is my pair of shoe? What am I going to do? And went on to monster.com and started looking at different opportunities. And I'm getting to how I got into financial.
I love it.
It's a long.
There is a whole story here.
There's a long roundabout way. So went on to Monster, started interviewing, and I ended up filling out a survey for an insurance company. And the recruiter contacted me and said, "Have you ever thought about it? We think you'd be really good." And I was like, "I have no financial background. I barely balance my checkbook. Insurance, I know I have it. I have no idea how to use it, what it is." And she's like, just interview and see what it would be like. So I interviewed actually for 6 months because I wasn't sure if that's what I wanted to do. And after 7 months, I joined a company and was with them for 11 years.
Oh, wow.
On the financial and insurance side. And 15 years later, I really haven't looked back and absolutely love what I do. It's left brain, right brain. I get to be analytical, which I really enjoy, but I get really creative with my clients as well. They get a lot of stick figure drawings. They get a lot of doodling on their
like puzzle pieces.
Yeah, it is. Fitting puzzle pieces together. So kind of like the space planning and programming I was doing in design, I just fit that into how does insurance fit into your lifestyle? You know, we all have to have it. It's required. If you own a home, drive a car, have a business, insurance premium is lost capital once you pay it. So I really try and work with clients to make it fun. And let's go through and really tailor it to what are you worried about? What are you at risk for? Where can you self-insure? Where do you not feel comfortable self-insuring? Let's allocate premium dollars to what's important to you and then self-insure on the rest.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you just answered a bunch of my questions. So, so what are some of the biggest misconceptions you see with business owners and insurance?
That if they make a claim, it's not going to be covered. Premiums are expensive. They often don't understand what they have. They'll usually just get a policy, and typically the premium isn't in line with what the coverage that they're getting. And the one thing I do, be it personal or commercial lines, I never want a client to hear, well, you're not covered, or that's not part of your policy. So I almost go, into too much detail when I'm meeting with a client, because that's your premium, that's your claim. And we all know how stressful it is when when you have something happen, be it in insurance or just in life in general, and you don't really understand how it's going to play out or how expensive it's going to be. So if I can be a resource and a source of knowledge, even if I don't get the business, I often work with clients just as a coach or an advisor of, here's what you have, here's what you're paying in premium. Your premium's not in line with what your coverage is, or vice versa. Your coverage is really great, but your premium's really low. So maybe that's good. There's a lot more threats, if you will, out there. A lot of companies, cybersecurity, identity theft, flood, employee liabilities, directors and officers. That's on the commercial side. On the auto and home side, there's a lot of misnomers, and people worry about liability on their home. Well, I don't see many people driving their home around unless they live in an RV, and that's a whole nother exposure. But I've had a lot of high net worth clients carrying around state minimum. And I don't know if anyone knows what state minimum is. It's $25,000 per person, $50,000 per occurrence.
Wow. That's
not a lot. That's an ambulance. That's looking at an ambulance, basically. So really allocating your premium dollars to what's important to you and what's going to financially devastate or financially change your lifestyle or your family's lifestyle. And so insurance kind of gets a misnomer. A lot of people are like, well, I don't know, I have a great premium, but typically the coverage isn't that spectacular, or vice versa. Or there's an allegiance towards a company, which I understand. Affinity discounts, I don't know if they're still out there. If you're with a company for a long time, I really think it comes down to the relationship with your advisor. Most of my clients, I'm not going to give you my cell phone number, but I'm kidding. Most of my cell phone, I'm joking. Most of my clients have my cell phone. So I get texts or, hey, Michelle, I have a question. And I really want to be that resource to where you're reaching out to me before you're calling that 1-800 number or that claims to get that personal touch, so I can coach you through.
Yeah, I think a lot of time with business owners, I find when I ask them the insurance questions, because I do, I don't see enough premium, or, do you have your cyber insurance and things like that? And people are like, well, I don't really have any assets.
You don't have assets, but you have the ability to earn a wage.
Yeah.
And in most states, they can garnish wages. Will it come to that? I'm not sure. It depends on the liability. So you don't have assets, but your biggest asset is your ability to earn a wage. Right. And that can change your life or someone's lifestyle. And just, the burden of error, you cause an accident, which is a sudden and accidental occurrence. You're not out there driving your car around saying, who can I, hit today? I call it a blonde senior aha moment. We're all driving distracted. I admit I drive distracted. I'm a mom. I'm working. I'm thinking about things, where I should vacation next, whatever it may be. And it takes 1 minute to change someone's life or your life. Why not? If you have to have the coverage, why not make sure you're just allocating premium to what's going to financially devastate you? And that goes to your auto, your business liability, personal liability. We live in a litigious society.
Right.
Protect yourself.
And so in our industry, one of the big things is cybersecurity. That's one of our big concerns. It's one, that's the thing that keeps me up at night, because we have a lot of client data.
Yeah, it takes 2 seconds, and even the larger companies are getting breached. It's really easy. Well, and cybersecurity also covers ransomware, which is becoming even more of a thing. People can get into your computer, and they'll hold your information and clients ransom unless you pay them. So I'd rather say, hey, insurance company, I'm going to transfer that risk to you. I don't have tens of hundreds of $1,000s sitting in an account.
I'm doing what I can on my end.
Yeah.
But if something happens,
we're
doing...
I want to know that that's there, and I have
covered.
some stop gaps and some coverage to where someone's going to step in and help me with those circumstances or whatever it may be that comes about.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So the IRS now requires us to say that we have cybersecurity policies.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so that's actually part of our renewals this year. So we have to renew our Prepare Tax ID number every year. Our PTINs. And you have to say, yes, I have policies. Yes, I have insurance, whatever, because they have to, because if anything happens, I have to go to the local authorities And I have to go to the IRS.
And we all know nothing's certain but death and taxes, and the IRS
Is
the final
letting
rule.
the IRS know what happened, because they have to mitigate on their end.
They
right?
do.
Because people could be filing tax returns through our systems, or, there's a lot of different ways companies have been breached.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
You see it everywhere in my industry, in your industry. Doctors are at risk, dentists, anyone that holds client information, which if you own a business, you basically have client information. You may not always have social security numbers or driver's license, but typically there's enough information for someone if they really want to take it.
I was just doing this yesterday. So I did a little class yesterday, and there was one where they breached their MailChimp.
Yep.
And then they were sending emails through just the email addresses is enough to create an issue. Sure.
And identity theft. And, I try and be vigilant in my own email, but I've even received phone calls and emails, and I'm like, is this for real? Like, of course, I've been arrested. I've been warrants, and the IRS is coming to seize my, and those, but I could see, there's some things when I was in the financial world, like elder abuse is huge, and I'm of sound mind and body, but sometimes I get those phone calls and I'm like, well, gosh, am I in trouble? So just looking at that, insurance can be across many avenues. It's not always as what you think of old school insurance. I think insurance is evolving as society and technology is evolving as well. And a lot of people are kind of stuck back in the 1980s insurance. Well, my parents had this company. I have this company. Some of the agents are probably still around, maybe working their book of business, but they're really not getting advice or consultative services around, which I'd rather have someone have really good coverage, save a lot in premium, go on vacation, go do something. Go do something fun with that. Put it in a cookie jar, take the kids out, do whatever, take your spouse, friend, significant other, partner out. Yeah. Once you pay that premium, and if the coverage isn't great, you've lost that premium, and that's money lost. So let's make it fun. Let's put where your risk needs to be covered, and then let's save that money or work with a financial advisor to reinvest and earn more than what you're getting.
It's really interesting. Things have evolved, and the type of coverages we need has evolved. And some things could put you easily in debt, like a car accident or, a medical situation. Yeah. And there's ways we can mitigate all of that, hopefully.
There's insurance for everything. There's pet insurance, there's travel insurance, what is your risk appetite? What do you worry about at night? And there's probably something that we could get insurance for on that if it's really important enough. And definitely make sure, I look risk reward. How much am I paying in premium? How much am I getting in coverage? If I had a catastrophic accident, how much would I be covered? And how much am I paying for that? And that's kind of where I work with clients, and I love to go line by line through policies.
Here's our risk and reward.
Yeah.
So what types of insurance are critical for business owners?
Definitely, depending on the business, and if it's a service-based business, B2B, B2C, general liability typically is huge, and it's usually a business owner policy if you're a small company. Those are really easy to get, and you get your liability, you get your business personal property, because if you have computers and printers and the stuff that you've worked so hard to acquire, and then cybersecurity is typically on that anymore. Employee dishonesty, if you have employees or not, if you're on a not-for-profit, directors and officers is extremely important. And employee dishonesty again, or employee liability. It depends if you have autos or employees driving for your company.
No, that's a big
There's
one.
typically an auto fleet, and that can be expensive. A lot of companies have gone to using telematics. So it's no longer like overall rated. They'll actually look at and rate the company different versus auto insurance for commercial lines can be really expensive. And so there's different ways that our companies are, again, evolving and making it more user-friendly. Same thing with personal lines insurance. There's telematics out there that literally you put an app on your phone and they offer certain discounts, which is helpful. So sometimes business owners muddy the waters and they're like, oh, I just have a personal policy, yet a lot of your exposure is on the business side, which on personal lines policies, the policy specifically excludes
All business.
most business activities and business personal property. If not, there's really low limits, and your deductible usually eats up those limits anyways. So if you're a business owner, business and personal need to be separate. And I'm sure you preach to this to your clients as well.
Yeah.
Your personal credit card is not your business credit card. Your
business-
personal checking account is
Exactly.
not your business, and
That has
vice
to be
versa.
separate.
So creating that delineation and separation of that, and making sure that you have your business exposures covered as long as as well as your personal lines covered.
One that's really big for us is professional liability.
Huge.
And I've used mine. I've had to call them and be like, this is going on with a client, and they've got lawyers on the back end going, this is what you need to do. This is how we handle these things. Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah.
And what I love about my professional liability insurance, and I'm sure a lot of them do this, but if I give them a heads up on something before it becomes an actual issue, like if I know about it and I give them a heads up on it, they won't do anything to my premiums. They'll give me all the coverage I need. They'll take care of the lawyers. They take care of everything for us.
Yeah.
They're like, thanks for giving us a heads up on this.
Brings up a huge point again, and I know we both really preach proactive. Just be proactive in life in general. Don't be reactive, because coulda, woulda, shoulda. I wish I woulda is far too late by the time you get to that point.
Yeah.
If you can be proactive and even call me, or, hey, Michelle, I now have a teenager driving, or we're thinking of doing this, or we're doing this, or I'm going to get this business, or this employee is unhappy, it's far easier to walk through it and talk about it before we're having to react to it.
Yeah. This was just some client stuff, and I just was like, I should probably call my insurance.
1-800 insurance.
Because my clients are like, yeah, we're each getting a lawyer, and I was like, I should probably call my insurance.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to try to drag me into this. I don't know what's going on. I literally have no idea.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to let my insurance know.
Well, you're already paying premium, and they're a resource, and having that and being able to do probably puts you a little bit more at ease, because you get that. And anytime you hear lawyers or this, and you're just not sure, and that's not your specialty.
Yeah.
I reach out to my underwriters all the time. I've been in the industry long enough. I reach out to peers all the time, like, hey, I have this situation. What would you do? Or have you came across this before?
Yeah.
We don't know what we don't know.
Right.
But why not you're already paying a premium for it. Same thing on health insurance, your financial advisor, your tax advisor, whatever it may be, use those resources before you before you give yourself your own advice.
You are preaching to the choir right now.
Yeah.
Why didn't you call us?
Yeah.
So insurance is usually seen as a cost. How can it be an asset?
Oh, good question. Again, being proactive and really understanding your coverage. There's some that give back dividends. There's some that give back accident forgiveness. I can't confirm or deny. I think you're paying for that on the end. Back end, it's baked in cost somewhere. I could be wrong. Again, I think you can turn it into an asset by having a relationship with a trusted advisor, someone that you can call to consult with when your life changes, or your business life changes, or your lifestyle changes. Also, to making sure your premium dollars are being used to appropriate coverage.
And understanding what that coverage is.
And understanding what that coverage is. So when you get in that accident or something happens, you don't have that sinking feeling. You already know. And of course, there's still going to be discovery on top of that, because not every occurrence is the same, but at least you'd have a general idea. And, take that premium dollar that you're using, put it towards what is really going to cause financial devastation, and then take those premium dollars from a previous policy, if we're able to allocate premium better, and put it into a slush fund, put it into a mutual fund, on the financial side. And that could be your rainy day asset, where you've self-insured, you have higher deductibles, higher limits, you know what the exposure is, but you're not losing money on paying premium in case of what if, or, I have a great premium and, crappy coverage, or I have really, really high coverage that just doesn't make sense for some of your exposures. but you're still paying premium on that. Because I know a lot of people set it and forget it. It comes through, it's automatically deducted on a monthly basis.
Automatically renews.
Unless there's a massive increase or something happens, most people don't review. And I say, every year is good, if not every 2 years. Just sit down and review your policy. If you're working with a company that has a captive agent situation, maybe shop it through a brokerage, maybe look around. Just always have the conversation and be a little vigilant on what that is, or get a good advisor that's going to sit with you and really understand your risks, and that you're going to feel comfortable texting or picking up the phone and saying, hey, this and this has changed, or I'd like to look at this, whatever it may be.
Awesome. All right. So before I ask my last question, what is the easiest way for people to find you?
Definitely, I need to increase my social media presence. I was doing that a while when I was doing the financial advising, and got a lot of great feedback. So definitely on LinkedIn, Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll link everything in the description box.
Yeah, on there, LinkedIn. I have my Facebook business page, Instagram, email. I do some networking events, depending on what it is, and then just through networking, through individuals such as yourself that I enjoy talking to. And usually those clients fall in line, and we probably work with similar people.
Awesome.
So finding trust and relationships with CPAs, mortgage lenders, whoever it may be, everyone has to have auto and home insurance.
Right.
So
that's awesome. So I know, I think I know you're going to answer this, but what is the one thing every business owner should review with their insurance today? What's the one thing they need to go look at?
When they're business, so commercial insurance is different. It's not good to move midterm.
Right.
Look at what your renewal date is and set that on your calendar. And whenever your renewal date is, a month before, reach out to me and let's just have the conversation. If anything, I can audit it or advise, or if you really have a great relationship with someone but you just want a second opinion, show me your declaration pages and we'll go through, and I'll make some observations and say, hey, this is really great, or maybe you want to have these talking points with who you're currently working with.
Yeah, it's having that conversation about what's happening with your business, what's happening personally, like really just taking that and then applying the proper insurance to what needs to happen there.
Yeah.
So things change.
They do, daily basis, minute by minute. Personal lines is a little bit different. You can change at any time, and any unused premium is always prorated back to you. Commercial, there is typically 1 year the policy stays in force, and then if you can start shopping renewal before that, especially if you have workman's comp and like a whole insurance package, it's best to shop the package the month prior before your renewal. Because there can be not only, insurance isn't just about premium. A lot of people are like, well, I have a great premium.
What's my cost?
It's not just about cost. It's the coverage on the other side that's really important too. And then let's get those two to meet and make sure your coverage and your cost and your premium are in line with what your expectations are.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you so much for listening or watching. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever you prefer to listen. If you learned something and found some useful information to apply to your business today, please consider giving us a thumbs up and a review. Until next week, be abundant.